Hello everyone, welcome to the Growth Switch with me, Cyril. This has been the 19th episode in our video series. Hoping you're enjoying all the insights that we've been sharing throughout the series. And remember, we've got something for everyone, regardless of which part of your journey you're on, whether you're just starting out or in the middle of it or you're more advanced. I'm sure we can go through our catalog of videos and topics that we've covered, and you'll be able to find some more insights there. We have a whole lot more contents to share as part of this series, so you can expect a lot more of these videos going forward. Um, in this episode, I'll be chatting about adapting to change, which at times can be quite an uncomfortable, if I can put it that way, encounter for quite a lot of people actually. Um, at times, when change comes into people's lives, and you find that actually it's going to make things better for them, but you find that there's some discomfort or resistance to change. Are you that person? Are you not that person? I'm sure even right now you're thinking about encounters where you've been in a situation where you've had to encounter change, be it in your personal life or at work or in business or whatever aspect of your life it is, right? So in this episode today, we'll be speaking about change, some things that might help you in terms of adapting to change and responding to it in a positive manner, such that overall in your life, the change encounter, you don't see it as such a disturbance or such a terrible event. Okay, so so with change, change is a constant, right? Things are always changing. For example, you take yourself. Like our bodies are always changing. We're getting older. Certain things happen. Around you, things change. Be it in your family space. You lose loved ones. You gain loved ones through newborns. You can have kids of your own, or nieces, nephews. If you look in your workspace, right, you may be in a scenario where the work you're doing now and the work you were doing a year or 3 years ago might be different, right? Or you might be in business, and as a result of the economic climate, you might have had to pivot into different strategies for your business, right? So that's a constant change that's always going on. Now, you can either have two responses to this change, right? You can either complain about it and whine and feel paralyzed by it and not know what to do, or you can look at ways to adapt to the change and effectively embrace it such that it has a positive impact in your life, right? Okay. Now, if you look at change, right, like I said, there can be change in you, not only just physically, right, but also spiritually. So you may go through certain experiences in your life which shed a spotlight on an aspect of your life that perhaps before you wouldn't have paid that much attention to. For example, you might go through an experience where God forbid you lose, one of your parents, and perhaps before spending as much time with your family wasn't something that was foremost in your mind. So that might, change your perspective a bit to think, what, I've always thought that these people are going to be around forever, but actually they're not going to be around forever. So I need to make the time wherever I can to spend time with them. So that's a change that happens with you. You find that you're spending less time on other things before you were spending a lot of time on, such that you can spend time on this aspect that you've not identified as being needing quality focus from your side in terms of investing in those relationships while people are still around. you know and you kind of change in around you. Perfect example, COVID-19 happened, right? In January, February this year, 2020, we're all living, our lives were normal, and then suddenly the world started going into lockdown, and people are not allowed to go out into public spaces, and that brought a fair amount of change in a short space of time. People had to deal with a level of change of this magnitude. In my time on earth, I think I said to someone, I've never seen something like this, in my time, on earth, in my 33 years. So yeah, it's been quite a significant change for people to deal with it in a short space of time. If you think about it, right, schools had to be closed, uh, bars, pubs, concerts, tourism, most people suddenly had to work from home, mind you, work from home. And if you have kids, they're at home too. If you have other relatives, they might be home too. So everyone is just in this short space of time that some people have termed a pressure cook-off note, where you've got all of this happening in one space. So if you think about it, right, someone who, let's say, had a very active social life, and they define themselves as being, the life of the party. They're always there, and when you go to the party, the other person loves the party. Suddenly, there is no actual party, and that person has to be indoors. That's a massive change. You suddenly have to do things virtually. We've seen baby showers being done virtually. We've seen graduations being done virtually. Awards shows, music and the likes. The arts. You know, we've seen like our politicians and all like business people working virtually, a virtual press conference, someone meeting with the press virtually. Webinars have really shot up, you know. And we've seen how people have had to adapt to the change and find new ways to deliver their product in a way and services to the people. So the artists doing online concerts, someone say, hey, I'm going to be on Instagram live, whatever, at 5, you can come through, see me, so you've seen that amount of change around you that happened and that people have had to adapt to. So being able to adapt to such change, right? Like having and practicing a growth mindset, right, helps with responding to the change. So with understanding that this change will only result in me growing. The change, be it good or bad, your experience with it, at the end of it all, you come a bit wiser than you were before you went into it. So it's either you will say, oh, okay, in future, if I go into an organization and the organization says they're going to change the strategy and go that way, I know that is not for me. And I probably should start looking for another organization that's going to be more aligned with what I'm looking for. Sometimes though an organization does go that way and you're like, oh, that was actually brilliant. I never thought that if an organization went that way, it would result in such an awesome outcome. Therefore, in future, if this happens, I'm all for it. Now you've become a lot wiser, right? You know what to avoid and what not to avoid, right? And also, if you enhance your learning skills, right, it also helps with the change. So with change, at times we all have to learn new skills. Like I said earlier, I mentioned people doing content online, virtual awards, and so on and so forth. That's people get to learn. Okay, now how do we deliver an actual awards show that used to be live with a whole set of fireworks, hundreds of people, artists performing on stage? How do we do that? At times, there was even awards shows where there would be an orchestra, where each person as part of the orchestra is performing at their home, but they all sound like that in one place. And that I found like mind blowing. Someone's blowing a flute, someone is playing a bass guitar, but they all sound like they're in one place. So everyone had to learn doing all of this. So that your ability to know how to learn new skills is also key. So building that up is a key in responding to change, right? So also remember, in terms of I mentioned earlier growth mindset. It's not like you're constantly in a growth stage, right? So you might learn a new skill and that might help you grow your skill set, but then you might need a certain space of time for you to practice it and become proficient in it. Then you learn another one. Also, you may have some aspects of your life where you're not growing, but others where you are. So you might be, let's say, blossoming in your career, things are going well, but in your personal life you might feel stagnant, things not going so well. And that might help you in terms of identifying where you perhaps need to, find ways of or strategies of how you can grow, right? Okay. Now, as a last point, so you need to be basically learn how to be comfortable with change. I know some people are like, oh, Priscilla, you crazy. How do you even learn to be comfortable with change when you don't know what's coming and what changes are coming? The thing is, some of the changes you never see, right? Like COVID, like I said, in Feb, we knew there was something like COVID and so on and so forth, but I don't think it had really sunk in the extent of change that might come with it, right? But only when the change really hit, you're like, oh, okay, this is huge, and you suddenly have to find ways of how to respond to it, right? So similarly, with any type of change going forward, to be thrown at you, and you need to find a way of responding to it. And I've given you some, I've given some insights as part of this episode here of what can perhaps be considered as inputs into the strategy of responding to change, right? So change is a constant. We need to be comfortable with it. There will always be change at any aspects of your life, so it might come in any form. But the key point is complaining and whining about it and feeling aggrieved by the change doesn't necessarily help you in terms of moving forward. But it's how you adapt to it that will assist in ensuring that you embrace the change and ensure that the outcome is a positive one in your life going forward. All right, so that's what I want to share as part of this episode. And remember, as usual, if you found these insights useful, please share them with those who stand to benefit the most. Remember, we're on social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and you can follow us there, where we tend to share some further insights in between the YouTube videos. And yeah, man, let's grow together.